Queen Elizabeth I ruled England for 45 years. She was brilliant, powerful, and absolutely terrifying to her enemies. But here's something your history teacher never told you. She had some of the most disgusting personal hygiene habits you've ever heard of. Elizabeth I took just 4 baths each year. That's 1 bath every 3 months. Think about your own routine. You probably shower every day, maybe twice a day. Now imagine going 3 entire months without washing your body. Your skin would be covered in dirt, sweat, and dead skin cells. The smell would be overwhelming, but Elizabeth thought she was being clean. Most people in her time bathed even less than she did. Some nobles went years without a proper bath. They believed that too much washing could make you sick. Elizabeth's baths were quite an event, though. Her servants would fill a wooden tub with warm water. They'd add sweet-smelling herbs like lavender and rosemary. She'd soak in this herbal water for maybe an hour. Between baths, she tried to stay clean in other ways. She'd wipe her body with damp cloths. Her servants would help her change into fresh undergarments. But these methods only did so much. The Queen's lack of bathing affected everyone around her. Courtiers had to stand close to her during meetings. They'd smell her unwashed body for hours. Some probably held their breath when she walked by. Her clothes absorbed months of body odor. Even her finest silk dresses would reek after weeks of wear. Servants had to burn strong incense in her rooms. They'd spray perfume on furniture and curtains. Elizabeth's skin must have been constantly dirty and oily. Without regular washing, dead skin would build up in layers. Her pores would be clogged with grime and natural oils. Can you imagine sitting next to someone who hasn't bathed in 2 months? How would you react if your friend told you they only shower 4 times a year? Queen Elizabeth, I had horrible teeth that were completely black from decay. Picture your worst toothache. Now imagine having that pain in every single tooth in your mouth. That was Elizabeth's daily reality. Her teeth were so rotten they looked like black stumps. The main culprit was sugar. Sugar was incredibly expensive in Tudor England. Only the very wealthy could afford it. Elizabeth loved sweet treats and ate them constantly. She had sugared fruits, candy, and sweet cakes at every meal. But here's the problem. Nobody understood how sugar caused tooth decay. They had no idea that bacteria in your mouth feed on sugar. These bacteria produce acid that eats away at tooth enamel. Elizabeth never brushes her teeth properly. Toothbrushes didn't exist yet. Some people used rough cloths to clean their teeth. Others chewed on twigs or used their fingers. Elizabeth mostly just rinsed her mouth with wine or water. Her breath must have been absolutely terrible. Rotten teeth create a smell that's hard to describe. It's like old garbage mixed with dead fish. People standing near her would have smelled this awful odor every time she spoke. The pain from her rotting teeth affected her eating habits. She could only chew soft foods. Hard bread or meat would cause excruciating pain. Her diet became limited to soups, porridge, and mashed vegetables. Foreign ambassadors wrote about her awful teeth in their reports home. They described her smile as frightening rather than beautiful. Some said her teeth looked like pieces of charcoal in her mouth. Elizabeth tried to hide her bad teeth. She'd keep her mouth closed during portraits. When she did smile, she'd cover her mouth with her hand. But she couldn't hide the smell of her breath. The Queen also suffered from frequent toothaches. These would keep her awake at night. Pain from infected teeth could make her irritable during important meetings. Have you ever had a cavity? How did it feel? Now multiply that pain by 30 teeth, and you'll understand Elizabeth's daily struggle. Elizabeth would wear the same underwear for months without washing it. Think about your most comfortable pair of underwear. Now imagine wearing that same pair for 4 months straight. No washing, no changing, just the same dirty fabric against your skin every single day. Tudor undergarments were very different from modern underwear. Women wore long linen shirts called chemises under their dresses. These chemises absorbed all their body sweat, oils, and other bodily fluids. Elizabeth believed that changing undergarments too often was unhealthy. Medical experts of her time taught that body oils were good for the skin. They thought washing clothes removed these beneficial oils. Her chemises would become yellow and stiff with accumulated sweat and grime. The fabric would start to smell like old cheese mixed with vinegar. Dead skin cells would build up in the fibers. The Queen's unwashed undergarments created perfect conditions for bacteria to grow. Warm, moist fabric is exactly what harmful bacteria love. This probably caused frequent skin infections and rashes. Elizabeth's servants must have dreaded helping her dress. They'd have to handle these filthy, smelly garments every morning. The ashy odor would stick to their own hands and clothes. The unwashed fabric would chafe against her skin during long days at court. Rough, dirty linen would cause painful irritation. She probably developed sores and blisters from the constant rubbing. Her outer dresses absorbed the smell from her dirty undergarments. Even her most expensive gowns would reek of body odor. No amount of expensive perfume could cover up months of accumulated filth. Other nobles noticed her poor hygiene habits. Some foreign visitors wrote letters describing her terrible smell. They complained about having to stand near her during ceremonies. The irony is that Elizabeth owned hundreds of beautiful dresses. She had wardrobes full of silk, velvet, and jeweled gowns, but underneath these gorgeous clothes, she wore the same filthy underwear for months. Would you be able to concentrate on ruling a country if your underwear hadn't been washed in 3 months? Queen Elizabeth, I rarely washed her hair, and it became infested with lice and other parasites. Imagine not washing your hair for 6 months. It would become greasy, smelly, and matted together like rope. That's exactly what happened to Elizabeth's once beautiful red hair. In Tudor times, people believed washing hair too often made it fall out. They thought the natural oils in unwashed hair kept it healthy and strong. Medical books actually warned against frequent hair washing. Elizabeth's hair routine was simple. She barely had one. Her servants would brush her hair occasionally. They'd apply oils and powders to try to mask the smell, but they rarely washed it with water. Without regular washing, Elizabeth's scalp became a perfect home for head lice. These tiny insects love dirty, oily hair. They lay their eggs close to the scalp, where it's warm. The eggs stick to hair strands like tiny white pearls. Head lice bite the scalp to feed on blood. This causes intense itching that never stops. Elizabeth probably scratched her head constantly during important meetings. Imagine trying to concentrate on state affairs while your scalp felt like it was on fire. The lice would multiply quickly in her unwashed hair. A single female louse can lay up to 8 eggs per day. Within weeks, Elizabeth's head would be crawling with hundreds of these parasites. Her hair servants must have seen the lice when they brushed her hair. These tiny bugs would fall onto her shoulders and clothing. Some probably crawled down her neck during formal ceremonies. The smell of Elizabeth's unwashed hair was probably overwhelming. Months of accumulated oils, sweat, and dead skin would create a terrible odor. Add the smell of lice droppings, and you can imagine how awful it must have been. Elizabeth tried to hide her dirty hair with elaborate wigs and headdresses. These accessories helped mask the worst of the smell, but anyone standing close to her would still notice the awful odor. Have you ever had head lice? How itchy and uncomfortable did it make you feel? Elizabeth, I covered her face with deadly lead-based makeup that slowly poisoned her skin. Picture painting your face with poison every single morning. That's essentially what Elizabeth did for decades. Her famous white face paint contained lead, mercury, and other toxic metals. The makeup was called Venetian ceruse, or spirits of Saturn. It created a perfectly smooth, pale white complexion that was fashionable at the time. But these toxic ingredients were literally eating away at her skin. Lead is a dangerous heavy metal that causes serious health problems. When absorbed through the skin, it can damage the brain, kidneys, and nervous system. Elizabeth was essentially poisoning herself daily for the sake of beauty. Her makeup routine took hours every morning. Servants would mix the white lead powder with vinegar and water. They'd spread this toxic paste across her entire face and neck. The mixture would dry into a hard, mask-like coating. The lead makeup caused terrible damage to Elizabeth's skin. It would burn and blister the delicate skin on her face. Over time, it created permanent scars and deep wrinkles. Her natural skin became rough and pitted like an orange peel. Elizabeth couldn't stop using the makeup because her real skin looked so terrible underneath. The lead had stained her face with dark spots and scars. Without the white paint, she looked much older than her actual age. The toxic makeup also caused hair loss around her hairline. Lead poisoning makes hair fall out in patches. Elizabeth had to wear wigs to cover the bald spots caused by her dangerous beauty routine. Foreign ambassadors described her appearance as frightening rather than beautiful. They said she looked like a painted doll instead of a real person. The thick makeup cracked when she smiled or frowned. The lead was slowly killing her brain cells. 2. Lead poisoning can cause memory problems, mood swings, and difficulty concentrating. This may have affected her ability to rule effectively in her later years. Would you risk poisoning yourself just to look fashionable? Queen Elizabeth, I was one of England's greatest monarchs, but her personal hygiene was absolutely disgusting. She bathed only 4 times yearly, had black rotting teeth, wore filthy undergarments for months, let lice infest her unwashed hair, and poisoned her skin with lead makeup. These shocking habits remind us how different life was 400 years ago, when basic cleanliness wasn't understood or valued. What shocked you most about Elizabeth's hygiene habits? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical content.